Hello, 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 and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. Come on in, have a seat. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, and madman, brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food plant based lifestyle. Let me say that one more time, once again, for the cheap seats in the back, like I do every Tuesday, and I have for the past 80 Tuesdays in a row. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food, plant based lifestyle. Welcome once again. Come on in and grab a seat. Last week, I discussed my D.A.R.E series, and I talked about the possibility of doing maybe 2 or 3 episodes. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to call it How Dare You, Dare to Execute, but it'll be something with Dare in the title. And as we go on, and as we move along towards the time I'm going to launch that, I will tell you what D.A.R.E stands for. It is an acronym, but I'm going to keep it under wraps until it's time to release it. So please join me. You will get more, you will get little crumbs as we get closer to the launch date and an opportunity for Black men to work with me and for us to get healthy, turn our lives around, and make our health an asset and not what? A liability. Let me say that again. It's an opportunity for us to make our health a what? An asset and not a liability. All 100,000 of us. Let's jump right in and begin. Let me start with a bit of a story. Let's go back with me for a moment and think back. For some of us, maybe 20 years. For some of us, it may be 30 years. For some of us, it may be 40 years. But let's think back to a time before you had bills, before you had responsibilities, before you had people relying on you, before you were sitting around waiting for retirement so you can do all these things you didn't get to do in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, and possibly 50s. Before all of that happened, this is what happened. At some point, you were a young man, a young person growing up, and you believed you could do absolutely anything, right? There was no stone unturned. There was nothing you couldn't do. Many of us would, tie the sheets around our necks and our towels and jump off the bed thinking we could fly. I've done all of that craziness. I've seen other people do it. When we're young, before life comes in on us and life begins to life, in our direction, we do think we can do anything. We think anything is possible. We take on anything. We do not need proof that anything is possible or that what we have in our head is possible. And we definitely don't need permission. We're not waiting for somebody to say, yeah, that's a good idea. Now, something happens, right? And it stops us. It kind of jolts us out of this belief in ourselves. And that's what this talk is about tonight. What is stopping us? What has gotten in the way? And how do we move it the hell out of the way so we can have the lives we want, the lives we deserve, the lives we have been putting off? So something happened. Maybe a relationship went sour and you lost your self esteem, your ability to believe in yourself. Maybe you were filled with doubt. Maybe you lost a job, right? Perhaps you had a teacher or an instructor who maybe shouldn't have been a teacher or instructor telling you all kinds of things about what you could and couldn't do, right? What you're good at and what you're not good at. We are notorious for telling young people what they're good and what they're not good at. We're notorious for crushing young people's dreams. However, that is a talk for a different day. But something happened, right? Maybe some loved one told you you're doing too much. I would hear that when we were growing up. That was a running joke. You're doing too much, right? Or somebody, maybe a loved one told you you're trying to be too big. You're too big for your britches. Your dream is too big. Whatever it was, something happened, right? And it shut you down. And you started to shrink. You started to accommodate the foolishness. So, one of the ways we do that is we allow people to define us, right? One of the ways we stop believing in ourselves is we allow people to give us a vocabulary, give us a new vocabulary. I am of the belief that their words are so powerful. They are so, so powerful. I have been reading since I was about 4 or 5. I know the power of words. I know the power of thinking. I know the power of being able to articulate your thoughts in the written form as well as speaking. So, words are super, super powerful. Many times, people will shrink you, shrink your dreams by redefining you or attempting to redefine you by giving you some words and things that have nothing to do with you. Let me give you an example, a very recent example. As many of you know or may not know, I am now a full fledged, out and out, dyed in the wool filmmaker. I have been wanting to be a filmmaker since I saw Michael Moore's Bowling with Columbine. To me, that was it. When I saw that, I said, oh my God, it was like the heavens parted. I knew where I belonged. This is exactly what I wanted to do. It was comedy, it was drama, it was telling a story, it had an impact. I said, this is what I'm wanting to do. Now, I saw that probably in 2000, maybe 2004, 2003. At any rate, it took me about 16 years before I finally dusted off those dreams, put on my big boy pants, and decided I was going to go after it and start making documentary films. There was something that came over me. I had an opportunity to go to USC and study with this wonderful professor who I've discussed ad nauseum again and again and again on this podcast. Professor Rafael Angulo, look him up. He is wonderful. He is proof positive that there is a God. He's an incredible man, an incredible artist, and an incredible mentor. Anyway, I digress. I dusted off this dream. I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker, right? I just got this thing in my head. Every cell in my body was resonating with, oh my God, it's time, it's time, it's time. And I did it, right? I made one film, I made a second one, I made three in the course of being in his class for 9 months. I think I made 3 or 4 films, right? The fourth one got made. It's on YouTube. You can check it out. It's called Ask the Old Guy. It's all about my health journey. I did this fourth film, tried to get it in some festivals. It didn't kind of work out. Finally, I figured out the system, right? I was able to figure out how to get it in and get some heat around it, get some notice on it. I picked up one award, then a second award, then a third award, then a fourth. The last the last count, I think I was up to maybe 14 awards, right? I don't say that to brag. I say that to let you know what happens when you are living, working, and breathing in your purpose. When you are living, working, and breathing your mission. My mission is to impact the world through stories and storytelling. I already know that. So I did this film, I put it out. Now, incidentally, people have seen it. I've screened it at restaurants, I've screened it on Zoom, I've screened it in person, I've screened it anywhere I can screen it, right? Incidentally, every now and again, about every third or fourth person will tell me, oh, I really liked your video. It's not a video, it's a film. I'm a filmmaker. I'm not making videos, I'm making films, right? That is an opportunity to dismiss what I'm doing. That is an opportunity to shrink it, right? You're making videos. No, I'm a filmmaker. So just sit with that a minute. How many times do we allow people to redefine what we're doing with their limited vocabulary, right? When did you start doing it? That is an indicator. That is a red flag, a big blinking, bright red flag that you are in the process of giving up belief in yourself. So when did you start doing that? When did you stop believing in yourself? That is the question. That is the title of this talk. When did you stop believing in you, right? When did you stop believing in you? I know for me, I've had stops and starts over the years, right? Sometimes it has been a passing remark from somebody I loved and trusted, and they said something, and I put the brakes on what I was doing. Sometimes it has been, oddly enough, sometimes it's been a stranger. And I thought, well, if the stranger doesn't see this and doesn't see what I'm trying to do, it must be a bad idea. That's a bad way of thinking. We don't want to do that. We want to move away from that. Okay, so, however, there is hope, right? There are some times when you can get tired of the shrinking, get tired of buckling under, get tired of not shining because people can't deal with this, your brightness, right? Incidentally, I was on a film set once. I was doing a commercial, and My light was shining so bright at that time. It was about 40 of us doing this big commercial for a hospital, and I'm standing next to the lead, and they wanted us to smile and be warm and engaging, so people would come to this hospital. And I thought that's what I was doing. I thought that's what I was doing what the director asked me to do. I was doing what I was cast to do, which is be bright, warm, engaging, and invite people in. I literally saw the director step over to I think the assistant director, the producer, or somebody, and tell them they needed to move me because I was so bright, I was taking over the leads moment, right? So I know that it happens. I know that I have it in me. I know that you have it in you. Now, one of the things about that is when you have the light, you're not grabbing at it, right? You don't have to worry about somebody taking your light or taking somebody else's. You can be the light, as Lisa Nichols says. But I'm going to move on. So I had a breaking point. I've had breaking points. I've had more than one. I'm 57. I have them all the time, right? I've had a breaking point. What was your breaking point? My breaking point usually is when the silent voice becomes a little louder, a little louder, a little louder, and things start showing up that are not related, and the only denominator is me. So maybe I hear the same lesson 3 or 4 times to 3 or 4 different people who don't know each other and only know me. That is my indicator that, oh, okay, I got to pay attention to something. It's time out for the shrinkage. So let me talk about when I turned it around, right? My turning points. I'm going to talk about 3 different ones. I had one when I was 30, I had one when I was 40, I had one when I was 52. When I was 30, it was the first time I treated myself, and I called it a treat. I was fortunate enough, and I treated myself to finding a therapist. I had a wonderful director, mentor, writer, coach who said, "Oh, yeah, I go to a shrink." And she told me where to go. And I was like, "Well, I don't know. This is what I thought when I was younger. Oh, well, I'm Black and we don't really do that." Once again, shrinking, right? But when I turned 30 in 1998, there was so much stuff going on. There was so much things. There were so many things I couldn't get a handle on. There was so much pain. There was so many answers I had. There was always like this gaping hole, and nothing I could do, or nothing I thought I could do, or nothing that I was thinking about seemed to fill that hole. And I figured, okay, this is it. I need to bring in the big gun. I need to bring in somebody else. Luckily for me, fortunately for me, um, I had a wonderful coach. She said, "This here is a tool you can use." I went to this therapist who was great. I got some things handled. I got some things addressed. I looked at some things that had been haunting me since I was a little boy, and I moved on. Now, 10 years later, we needed another tune up. When I turned 40, it was 2008, right? Now I'm 10 years older. I looked around. I had ended a relationship. I was feeling a lot of anger and self-doubt, like why didn't this work out? It should have worked out. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? I was running around for more than 1 year saying shoulda, coulda, woulda. Why didn't this work out? What's going on? How come I couldn't make this work? What's wrong with me? There was nothing wrong with me, right? Now at 40, I had to look at, okay, well, let's look at what's going on here. I chose another route and decided I was going to be in the best absolute health of my life. I was going to be the healthiest I'd ever been. I had just turned 40. I started doing hot yoga. I went to a vegan diet, didn't know that's what I was doing at the time, but I knew I was not going to be eating junk. So I made a point of eating one meal a day, and it was always vegetables, and it was always some type of fruit, right? Ended up dropping 20 pounds, went to hot yoga. The weight just came off, the skin was glowing. I turned 40, everybody thought I was 28. That's a big plus. Did do that. That was a turning point. Fast forward 12 more years, 52. As you guys know, that's when I had the big hypertension scare, right? The big, you're dancing dangerously close to stroke category scare. That's when I had that. Changed my health. This time I intentionally went to the vegetables. I intentionally went to the plants at 52. There was no dibbling and dabbling and going back and forth at that point. I decided this is going to work and this is going to save my life. And the only person who's going to save me was me. And I did it. So that was 5 years ago. So those are the 3 times that I had a major turning point in my life. What are your turning points? Let's move on. Okay. Now, here's something that's very interesting about beliefs. I thought for the longest time that beliefs, either you had them or you didn't, right? You believe in something or you don't. That's just kind of the way my mind works a lot of times. Either you believe in something or you don't. You're going left or you're going right. What is all this middle ground, middle stuff? That's just a waste of time and some foolishness. I have recently discovered that beliefs are not they're not, you don't either have them or you don't. Beliefs are fed, right? They're fed with evidence, they're fed with proof, they're fed with you try something and it works out or it doesn't, right? One of the things that I'm very proud of that I love to see in other people is when they have a belief or a set of beliefs that are not based on necessarily what they've seen before. Let me say that again. One of the things I love about myself and I love to see in other people is when they have a set of beliefs that are strictly based on faith and vision, not because it's something they've seen, not because it's something they understand, not because it's something they know, not because it's something a relative told them they should do, but they have beliefs that are based in faith. What does that look like? When you have beliefs that are faith based, then you move through the world with the understanding that it doesn't matter what happens. I will figure it out. That's been my mantra forever. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Some people don't like it. Oh, well. That's how I choose to live my life. I recommend that you give that a try. That's a whole lot more productive than staying stuck because your beliefs won't allow you to move because your beliefs say, well, this may not work, or your beliefs say, I haven't seen this before, or your beliefs say, well, um, what makes you think that'll work out, right? What makes you think that will happen? I used to hear that all the time when I was a kid. Like I would share beliefs, and people would get upset, very belligerent because I was speaking things that hadn't happened as of yet, or I was speaking things from a just knowingness and a belief and a faith, not because it was something I could smell, touch, taste. And many times people don't like that. So here's my challenge or my question. Or maybe it's a statement. Yeah, I think it's more of a statement. It's not a question, it's a statement. Here's the statement. How dare you stop believing in yourself? How dare you keep postponing your power? When you don't believe in yourself, you are postponing your power. How dare you do that? How dare I do that? Right? I talked about that last week about my folks here on the wall from 1963 who were facing water hoses, vicious dogs. How dare I be afraid of anything? I don't have the luxury to do that, right? And neither do you. So how dare you postpone your power? How dare you keep postponing your power? It is time out for that, right? It is time to step into whatever you were meant to do this go around. It is time for something different. I want to challenge all of you to step into something different. And this is why people are waiting on you. Somebody is waiting on you. Somebody is waiting for your light to be so bright, like mine was in that commercial way back in 2003, 2004. Somebody's waiting for you to be that bright so they can be that bright, right? It is time for us to stop postponing our power and be bright beacons of light for the generations, 7 generations behind us, which is what they teach us in Buddhism, and 7 generations in front of us, right? So I'm working to be the light. I'm determined to be full of light for the people I'm never going to meet. Never going to see these people, right? I'm already 57. Let's just say hypothetically, I get my next 100 years because as you know, I am pushing to live to 150. So let's say that happens. It can happen. A whole lot of things that I think could happen have happened. Let's say I live to be 150. So that's another 100 years. That's still only 3 generations, right? Or maybe four. So if we're talking 7 generations ahead of me and 7 behind, that means I've got to stop postponing my belief in myself. I've got to stop postponing my power, right? And show up. So this is part of the Dare series. Dare to execute, dare to believe. How dare you play small series. I don't know what the title is going to be of the series, but I know it's going to be a 3-part series. This is week number 2. of the D.A.R.E series. We haven't figured out the name, and it is coming, and I promise I will have it for you next week. All right, here's a challenge for you. Here's something I'd like for you to do or think about. Well, don't think about it, act on it. I want you to take some action. So, when you have a moment or two this week, take 5 minutes, take a minute, take 20 minutes if you need to, and look back and think about a time when you stopped believing, when you stopped believing in yourself. When did that happen? When did that door get shut on what was possible for you? When did you decide to accommodate, and yes, I said accommodate, other people's foolishness? And incidentally, when you allow people to create your world, as my wonderful coach, Mike Pointer, who's in LA, look him up. He runs a wonderful company called Hey, I Saw Your Commercial. He's a wonderful mentor and a wonderful man. As he taught me way back in 2009, when you allow somebody to define, create, or design your world, they're always going to make it too small. They always are. They're going to make it to accommodate them. We are no longer accommodating other people. We are no longer accommodating foolishness. That is over. That is the crux of this D.A.R.E series. So here's your challenge. Let me get back to that. Take 5 minutes, take 1 minute, take 20 minutes, 20 minutes if need be, and realize and look at your life and think about, when did I stop believing in me? When did I postpone my power because my belief was low or weak or non existent, or I judged it? When did you start doing that? Then come up with one simple action you can take to shore up that belief, right? Have a difficult conversation. Make a plan to leave the job that's not working. Publish the book. Get rid of the friend who sucks the life out of you, right? Create something. Do one small action that allows you to increase your belief in yourself and claim your power. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. I've preached long enough. Hopefully, you've got something out of this. Please share this with somebody who needs to hear it. Come back next week for the third part of the three-part series, the D.A.R.E series. So we will be here next week, same back time, same back channel, as they say. I'm old, so I will use that reference. Get some plants on that plate. Take care of your loved ones. Allow your loved ones to take care of you. Stay away from the deep fried foolishness. Most of all, eat like you got some sense. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food, plant based lifestyle. Let me say that one more time, like I do every week, every Tuesday, for the cheap seats in the back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. This is live, folks. The movement is entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food plant based lifestyle. I will talk to you soon. See you next week for part three of the D.A.R.E series. Be well. Bye now.